Norman RedRyan was at times described as Canada's most notorious criminal, and at least once as Canada's Jesse James. Born in Cabbagetown in Toronto in 1895, he quickly picked up the nickname of Red because of his bright red hair. First convicted of theft of a bicycle at the age of 12, by May of 1935, Ryan had been found guilty 19 times for crimes all over Canada involving theft and violence, and had been a participant in at least 9 separate shootouts. While in Kingston Penitentiary, he must have received a letter from someone from Lambton offering his help. Ryan responded in 1935 to a Lambton County man saying, "There is no denying that such interest and acts of kindness have an influence like that of fine music or high art. They flash upon one at times, appealing instantly to all deep emotions of the soul, and make one believe all things possible. Such a broad attitude and kind offering of assistance from a man of your particular calling and social standing has been the means of strengthening and confirming my belief that there's still much kindness and good in the world." Just a year later, he returned that kindness by committing a robbery in Lambton County that led to the death of 3 men, including him. On May 23, 1936, RedRyan, Harry Checkley, and perhaps one other man left Toronto, planning to arrive in Sarnia just before closing time at the liquor store on Christina Street in Sarnia. It appears that Ryan knew it was a long weekend and figured the till would be full. They had dressed as railway employees, figuring they would blend in this railway town. By late that evening, RedRyan, Harry Checkley, and a Sarnia police officer, Constable John Lewis, would all be dead. In an extra edition put out that night, the Sarnia Canadian Observer lead article read, "Constable John Lewis and 2 robbers fatally wounded." Another article read, "Constable John Lewis, man said to be John Reagan of Toronto, and unidentified robber are victims." The Observer reported that day that Constable John Lewis, one of the most efficient officers of the Sarnia Police Department, was fatally wounded in a gun battle at the liquor store late this afternoon, and 2 Toronto bandits are also dead as a result of bullet wounds. The shooting climaxed one of the most daring daylight robbery attempts in Western Ontario in years. The 3 men died in Sarnia General Hospital. The men had secured $394.26 from the permit issuer's till and the cashier's cage at the store, but the money was all recovered. About 20 customers in the store at the time were not molested, although they were forced to stand with their hands up while the robbery took place, and later they were forced to flee for their lives as bullets from 7 revolvers spattered around the inside of the store. The constable and the older of the 2 robbers died shortly after their admission to the hospital. The 3rd man died at 7:58. To Detective Frank McGurr, Patrol Sergeant George Smith, and Traffic Officer William F. Simpkins went much of the credit for the slaying of the bandits who had killed their comrade before he had even had a chance to pull his revolver. The officers had responded to a telephone call of the holdup at 5:58, and Constable Lewis, a married man with a small family, was the first one to enter the store, where customers and clerks were held at bay by the 4 guns held by the 2 thugs. For more information about RedRyan, you might want to look for a series of stories over a 6-month period beginning in September 1923 by a young Star reporter by the name of Ernest Hemingway. One of these stories described Ryan's daring escape over the wall of the Kingston pen. Listen to part of what he wrote. Standing at the foot of the scantling, while they all went up, was a thick, freckle-faced man whose prison cap could not hide his flaming head. It was RedRyan. The others who had clambered over were young Brown, Big Simpson, Runty Bryans, and Wyoming McMullen. As RedRyan started up the ladder, Matt Walsh, chief keeper of Portsmouth Penitentiary, came running around the corner to see the burning barn. Walsh saw Red on the ladder and ran toward the scantling to try to jerk it down, shouting the alarm as he ran. Red saw him coming, realized that he was trapped, and came down the ladder. He had left a pitchfork leaning against the jail wall for just this emergency. As Walsh reached the ladder, Red reached for the pitchfork. Walsh tackled him, and Red swung with all his might on Walsh's head with the pitchfork. Walsh went down, and Red dropped the fork and went up the scantling and over the wall. Interestingly enough, the same man, Ed McMullen, known as Wyoming Ed, who escaped with him over the wall of Kingston Pen, was a partner in crime at several of Ryan's robberies, a man who accompanied him on one of his escapes from prison, and also once led 3 others as they robbed the Bank of Toronto in Wyoming, Ontario, here in Lambton County. It was a rainy afternoon, October 20th, 1921. Wearing bright yellow rain slickers and riding in a big yellow-wheeled McLaughlin touring automobile, they entered the bank and closed the doors on the watching crowd. After withdrawing a sum of $10,942, they rode away like desperados of the Old West, bullets flying in the rainy mist.